Welcome back. It is Overwatch League Stage 2, Week 2, Part 2. Got matches Saturday and Sunday coming up. And before I get into the predictions, I would like to bring up one thing real quick. I don't like the way they did the scheduling this year, and I won't pretend to know the intricacies of figuring out like which team has to play which team a number of times, but they've arranged it so that you basically play the people in your division a bunch of times, and then you play all the people in the other division once. At least that's what it seems like. Because if you remember, people have been talking about like, oh, New York and Vancouver don't play each other in the regular season until stage 4, which is just dumb. I don't understand that. There have already been so many rematches, but there's a lot of teams that haven't played each other yet. Like New York has played Washington twice. Guangzhou's played Vancouver twice in one stage. Dallas and Shanghai played each other twice in one stage. The Gladiators are about to play Guangzhou for the second time. I don't understand it. London and Philadelphia are about to play for the second time, and also because they don't know which teams are going to be like really good or really bad coming into this year. Like they knew for a couple of them, but they didn't know how the expansion teams would do. So we're gonna quick look at the divisions. So this is the Atlantic division, right? So you got Atlanta. They're 4-6. They're pretty much a bottom tier team right now. They just lost to Valiant, which I did predict. You got Boston, top 10 team, but definitely nowhere near top 5. They're in like the 8 to 9 range. Florida, bottom tier team. Houston, most people don't have them higher than 15 at absolute most. A lot of people have them like 16, 17, even lower. You have London, who's really good but really inconsistent, especially in the regular season. You have New York, who, okay, yep, top tier. Paris, they're a mid tier team. Philly, upper mid tier team. Toronto, just a little bit below Philly, and Washington, another bottom tier team. So you got Florida, you got Washington. I think most people say the two worst teams. Then you also have Houston, which people don't think is a playoff team. Atlanta, who people don't think is a playoff team. And then teams like on the fritz, I would say, in like Paris and Toronto. And then you look at the Pacific Division. You got Chengdu, they're 500. They're a scary team. Dallas just missed stage playoffs. They're a lower tier playoff team. Guangzhou, they're now I'd say a lower tier team, but they still have a lot of talent. You got Hangzhou, who's about 500, but most people think their talent is crazy good. You got the Valiant, who are only have one win, but everyone thinks they're better than Florida and and Washington, and they're the worst team here. You have Shanghai, who I think is a legitimate like top 12 team. You have Vancouver, who's probably number one right now. You have San Fran, who's number two right now. You got Gladiators, who I think are number four right now, and then you got Seoul, who's a legitimate playoff team. So it's not. I don't think it's even close to fair. I think the Pacific Division is leaps and bounds better than the Atlantic. Like they have three of the top four teams. Even if you can argue number four, like if you want to put Philly there or someone like that, they have two of the top three teams, and they have more depth. Like their worst two teams right now are Guangzhou and Valiant, and I would take both of those teams to easily beat Florida and Washington. 100%, like 7 or 8 times out of 10, I think they win. So because they couldn't possibly know how to balance the divisions perfectly because like I said they don't know how the expansion teams are going to play, they don't know how some of the returning teams are going to play, um, but because of that like the teams in the Pacific Division have such a harder schedule, and like I just look at the schedule and I see, oh look, New York's going to go beat up on Florida and Washington again. So I think it's something they're definitely gonna have to look for later on for next season because apparently they're gonna have the same teams. They're not gonna add any more teams next season, which I thought was surprising. So that's just something that I noticed that's been irking me. That I thought I'd bring up. Let me know what you guys think about that. If you agree or if you think that this is like the best way they could have done it. But without further ado, because of that little intro bit, I'm going to kind of whip through the predictions this time around. I'm not going to ramble on about them. So, the rematch of the grand finals. Philadelphia won the last time out to open the season 3-1. They're playing on Lijiang, Hanamura, Blizzard World, and Rialto. And I think I'm going to get this one wrong, and I think I might regret it, but I'm picking London. London looks really solid against Atlanta, even though Atlanta's not been playing super well. I think their goats has been getting cleaner, and when it comes to getting off of goats, I mean, they have Bird Ring and Profit. I don't worry about them at all. They'll be significantly better, not in the goats. And then Philly, I thought they'd be better. I thought they would look a bit better now that Winston Goats is more in meta, and they can flex off a little bit and get Carpe back on his Widow, and a couple other variables like that. But they haven't looked that great. Like they did beat Toronto, they did beat who was it? Florida, but they got absolutely hammered by New York. And I think that London right now is just playing at a higher level of Overwatch, and maybe they want revenge. I don't know. I don't think they're too mad about losing a regular season match. The Spitfire don't care that much, but they are 5-4 in the season. So if they want to get into the upper echelon of teams, this is a really good opportunity to do it, especially since Philly is 7-3. You don't want them to get too far ahead of you. So I think London's going to come out, play really well, and take it 3-1. Then we got Vancouver still rolling. They're at 9-0 now, taking on Houston, who is playing their first match of the season, of the stage. They're 3-4 right now. They're playing on Busan, Paris, Eichenwald, and Rialto. I'm gonna say this is a 4-0. I think Houston they might make Paris close. Eichenwald was generally a pretty good map for them, if I remember right, for a season one. So I think they could maybe give Vancouver a little bit of trouble on those, especially because they've had a lot of time to prepare. They've had a lot of time to set up strategies, but in the end, it's not going to matter. Vancouver's too good. Houston doesn't match up to them really at all in any kind of category. So I think that Vancouver, well, they might struggle on a couple of maps, and maybe Houston will take map 4 because Vancouver will just kind of meme on them a little bit. I'm still going to go with Vancouver in a 4-0. I think that they'll pull them all off. Moving on, it's Dallas, also playing in their first match of Stage 2. They're taking on the Toronto Defiance. This is a really interesting match. You got 4-3 Fuel, 6-4 Defiant. The Defiant are just 1-2 this stage, so they're going to have to start winning if they want to make the stage playoffs. And you might think this is continuation of me hating on Toronto, but I like Dallas. I think they have a better team. I think they're playing better Overwatch right now. And looking at these maps, Dallas, just like Houston, Dallas is going to have a lot of time to prepare for Toronto. I mean, they've had a nice 2.5 week break, so I think they're going to be very prepared. They're a well-coached team. They did lose Effect, but he wasn't playing anyway. So while I think that losing Effect does hurt their ceiling, right now it doesn't hurt them. They are incorporating Note into the lineup, but like I said, they got a couple weeks to screw him and integrate him, so I think they're going to do it well, and I think that they're going to take the series 3-1 over Toronto. Last match of Saturday, we got the LA Gladiators taking on the Guangzhou Charge. So the Charge, to say they're in a free fall is a massive understatement. They've lost their last 4 matches. And in those matches, they are 1-15. They're in their last 5 matches, they're 0-5, and they're 1-19. They lost to the Gladiators. The Gladiators are the last team they took a map off of. They got 4-0'd by who was it? Vancouver twice in this time. San Francisco, and they were good teams. But they also got 4-0'd by Paris. Which is not a good sign. So the Gladiators are playing really well right now. Like I said, I think they're the 4th best team in the league right now. And I don't even think it's my bias at all, because I generally call it like I see it with the Gladiators. If anything, I'm a little harsh on them usually, especially when I'm watching. For my friends who watch with me sometimes know that I'm very critical towards my sports teams. But anyway, Lijiang Tower, Temple of Anubis, Blizzard World, Watchpoint, Gibraltar. I keep wanting to pick Guangzhou, and I want to say they're gonna pull it together because they looked really solid for a lot of Stage 1. but I have to say Gladiators. Um, I think Guangzhou takes the map. Maybe it's map one. Gladiators haven't looked great on map one their last few matches. Yeah, I think Guangzhou's gonna finally end their map lose streak, but I don't see any way in which they beat the Gladiators. They Charge don't look confident. The Gladiators are looking increasingly confident. Uh, they've beat two teams that I would say are better than Guangzhou already, and I just don't think that they can really be stopped right now by any of the lower tier teams. So I'm gonna take the Gladiators in this one. I'll say 3-1. I hope Guangzhou looks better. Of course, I still hope Gladiators win, but yeah, I would like to see some life out of Guangzhou because it's been just painful to watch, absolutely painful. So the second match or the first match of Sunday is Dallas Fuel back in action taking on Paris Eternal. So this is an interesting one. Paris has been a little hard to gauge. They are 2-1 this stage, but I don't think they've beaten the best competition. You could say they beat Florida and they beat Guangzhou. They're playing on Busan, Paris, Blizzard World, and then Rialto. So Dallas, because of Coco, one of their assistant coaches, retiring, they brought in a new coach, Damon, and he was actually the head coach of Paris. So I think he'll probably have some good information about the team. Again, Dallas is very well coached. I really like Arrow. I really like Jane. Damon, and I forget their DPS guy's name, but I really do like the makeup of this team. Like I said, I think that Note is going to kind of slip in seamlessly. Note doesn't really play Sombra much, so we'll have to see if Dallas kind of abandons their Sombra strategy or if they try to run Note on it or try to run someone else on it. I guess I think Dallas is going to come out with a couple of wacky strategies on some of these maps, like maybe Paris, because they've had time to prepare and they have some versatile players on their team. So we'll see. We'll also see if any of the guys who haven't played yet come in, like Taimu or um, any of those guys, Harry Hook, Mickey. I doubt it. But anyway, I think Dallas wins this one pretty easily. I think they're just straight up a better team than Paris in just about every way. I think they'll take it 3-1. Next is Atlanta Reign taking on Washington Justice. So these are two teams that are struggling. Atlanta's lost all three this matches this stage. Washington has also lost all three of their matches of this stage. They're at 1-9. Atlanta's 4-6. They got Busan, Paris, Eichenwald, and Rialto. On this one, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It's a tough one for me because Washington has looked improved. Corey has looked really nice on the Widowmaker. I have to give him that. Um, but when it comes to goats, I think Atlanta's a lot better. And looking at the map pool, when you got Busan, which on a couple, teams generally don't run goats on Busan, so I think that's an advantage for Washington. But then on Paris, I think Washington or Atlanta can kind of cheese them a bit, and then Eichenwald and Rialto, I think they can just go more heavily into a goats style and just kind of roll them out. So I think Washington takes map one, and then it's all Atlanta from there. Atlanta gets their first win of the stage, 3-1. Next match, it is New York versus Florida. Three words. 4-4-2-0. Moving on. It's the battle for LA, capping off the week. Now Atlanta Valiant beat Atlanta. They finally got that first win on the board, so they're now 1-8. Gladiators will be coming into this match either 6-4 or 5-5. The maps are Lijiang, Hanamura, Eichenwald, and Rialto. So, Valiant in the regular season last year, Valiant went 3-1 in the battle for LA. They also beat the Gladiators in the Stage 4 playoffs. So, Valiant have definitely had the upper hand in this matchup, but the Gladiators are playing way better Overwatch right now. But LA Valiant always seem to play a lot better in this matchup, and Gladiators not quite as much. But I'm going to pick the Gladiators here. Not to mention the fact that I think they're a much better team right now. The number one X factor in every single battle for LA, it seemed, last season was Soon. Soon went absolutely bananas on Widowmaker in their matches. He went absolutely crazy. Was just destroying people out of his mind. Was looking like Carpe out there. And as we know, they don't have Soon anymore. So I think that that's going to be a big swing towards the Gladiators' favor. I think they're a much better Goats team. And you're gonna see goats on especially the last couple maps. I think the Gladiators will probably hit him with the Batiste Bastion Cheese on Hanamura, which will probably stop him short. And I'm gonna say it's a 3-1 win for the Gladiators. I think if Valiant are going to win any of the maps, it's going to be map 1 or 4. I think 2 and 3 will go Gladiators' way quite easily. But I think that, like I said, the Valiant will put up a better fight than they should in this matchup, just because it's the battle for LA and all the fans are going to be hyped, and it's going to be a crazy environment. And the Valiant are really they're gonna have some confidence coming off that first win, and they're gonna play some good Overwatch. But the Gladiators will play better Overwatch and take the win 3-1. So those are the predictions for the second week of Stage 2. Last week I went 13-3 on my predictions. It was a very good week. So hopefully it keeps carrying over into this week. The first 2 days were pretty good. Checking it real quick. I don't quite remember. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, no, yes, yes. So I went again. Really nice first 2 games. The only one I got wrong was Boston versus Hangzhou. So 7-1 start to this week. There's a couple of them that I think that could go either way this week, like Dallas, Toronto, Atlanta, Washington, Battle of LA. You never know. Dallas, Paris could go either way. I think we're going to see some good matches. I think if there was, we did see some good ones yesterday, but I think if there is a day to watch on for week 2, I think it's these 2 days right here. They're going to be some good Overwatch, I predict. So that wraps up for me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We're coming up on the Dallas Ultimate Week in a couple weeks, the Dallas Fuel homestand, so that'll be exciting. Anyway, good luck to your teams this week. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have yourself a great couple of days, and I'll see you in the next one.